All right, visionary. So it's just Cuff and I today.
What up?
Yeah, what up, though, Chief? And so we'll take y'all behind the curtain. Like, Cuff and I obviously have a lot of conversations throughout the week. And sometimes, you know, you go through life.
Yeah.
And, you know, real life happens, right? You go through transitions and, you know, you experience things, you know, whether it's a personal, professional journey or whatnot. And so I say all that to say, you called me a couple weeks ago and, you know, we're looking at our schedule and you said, hey, build something in the schedule. It's just going to be me. And I was like, what?
Which is rare for me. Like,
yeah, which
I don't
is
do that.
rare, right? Like anybody who knows us knows that like I'm, you know, I'm always on go mode and you're a lot more measured and methodical, which is the yin and yang of our relationship. So we're going to win. And you said, hey, it's just going to be me and you. Turn the cameras on. Let's go. Yeah. And I thought, wait a minute, this is somewhat out of character for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And you were like, yeah, it's just going to be me. Turn the mics and the cameras on. Like, I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
And so, you know, obviously, again, it's just me and you had been through a bit of a transition from what, end of 2022, beginning of 2023 to where we are now in the fall of 2023.
Yeah, lots happened.
Yeah, lots happened for you.
Yeah.
And so I will, I'll open the floor for you because I kind of feel like the questions I want to ask, but I'll open the floor for you to kind of give the visionaries the basis of why you made that call. And we're just like, yeah, let's turn on the mics and go.
Yeah. Well, before we get started, welcome back to the show, Cuff. That's Mo. We're just jumping straight into it because I really want to have, I want to connect with you guys, right? And I want to talk about real life. I want to talk about a lot of times, especially as a male, and then, you know, add in the component of being a black male. Oftentimes we don't talk, right? And that's really why I reached out and said, hey, let's do this. And we haven't talked beyond that other than like, yo, we're going to get into some stuff.
Yes.
But before we get started, this episode is sponsored by Dr. Goodburn. And I'm super excited. This is the first time that I've had it. So just for this one episode, it's
we'll get into why it's the first time you've had it.
Yeah, for sure.
Shout out to Megan.
Yeah, what up, Megan? So we're gonna do this here. Let's get it going. Pour it up.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. And this is my first time, Megan, that I'm tasting it. So I'm excited, and I think it's appropriate for this episode. So shout out to Dr. Goodburns. Toast to you, good sir.
Amen. To the VisionLab.
Yes, sir. And you know what? Knocking on the door, 200 episodes.
Man, come on now. Who'd have thought when we first started?
Oh, okay. So I see it. It's light. It's airy. A little, no burn whatsoever.
Right.
So, yeah, it's been an incredible ride. I think you alluded to it before. A lot has happened. A lot has changed, and I think visionaries. A lot of times we have a vision. We have a goal. We have objectives that we're looking to accomplish, whether that's professionally or personally. And sometimes they don't go as planned, right? And we're knocked off kilter. We're pushed back. And I think we all are familiar with that. And oftentimes, you know, we know you got to get up and dust yourself off, right?
This is true. And
I think we all understand that. However, you get up, you dust yourself off, and you go again, right? And you're moving, you're grooving. You've got a nice rhythm, a nice pace to your life, and then you get knocked down again. And I think a lot of times we don't understand that get up mentality after that second one. That second one can kind of hurt, right? And so whether it's from a job, relationship, or what have you. And so for me, you know, it is what it is. At the end of 2022, my wife at the time said, you know, she was done. So for me, it was definitely out of left field. You know, and I think we have a decent relationship. But obviously there's some, from my perspective, there's still some hurt and some, you know, pain that exists. But I can compartmentalize. Right, and I think as a man,
we don't have a choice.
Yeah,
we don't have a choice. No, as you told me a long time ago, nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares, right? So you accept it, you move on. But then there's a process that I chose to go through, and I want to say this: I'm not an expert. I don't know everything. this is truly an expose on me, my life, what I'm experiencing, and hopefully it resonates with you and makes sense, or there's pieces of it that make sense, right? And I think that's the thing in terms of the pureness and the purity of the show, is that we want you, our visionaries, to be able to pull from these examples, and these are real life examples. We've been doing this for 5.5 years, right? Almost 5.5 years.
Yeah.
I would not have seen this coming, albeit I'm not completely taken aback. I mean, at the time I was, but you start reading the tea leaves and it makes sense. And there wasn't any infidelity or anything like that. It was just
it's life.
It's just life. Yeah. So
I was shocked.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's not about me, right? But I remember you called like that. It was like right at the turn of the year. You were like, "Yeah, we're getting divorced." I was like, "What?" Because I think I want to say it was like we're getting ready to watch we weren't at the same house, but I'm pretty sure we're getting ready to watch the Cowboy playoff game against San Francisco when you called.
Could have been.
Like, it was right in the middle of like playoff time, and I called you about something show related, and we ran through it. And at the end, you were like, "Oh yeah, by the way, like we're getting divorced." I was like, "What?"
Ripped the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. So what? Like, did I just hear that? And he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah. And I'm very much like that off camera, assertive, very direct. There's no sugarcoating or anything like that. But I wanted to spend time with you, family. I wanted to talk, and give you the real, right? So, when turn of the year happens, it's now 2023, and I'm processing a lot, bro. I'm trying to figure out. I've got 2 beautiful daughters. And there's a lot there, right? There's a financial component that, when you go through a divorce, it is what it is, especially being in a community property state. You get punched in the dick, bro. Like, it is, and it hurts. And you work to build, and you're going to have to work to build more. So from that aspect, like, you mentally understand that, but then the action behind that, it kind of takes a toll, right? So for me, I really, especially because I compartmentalize, I look, and every year what I do is I go through a fast, and I don't do something. I don't drink for the first 90 days of the year. So that wasn't going to change this year.
Yeah, because people ask us to come do stuff at the beginning of the year, and like, "Hey, Cuff's on the shelf for a minute. Y'all got to wait."
Yeah.
Y'all got to wait.
We're supposed to have a chef on the show. And,
like, y'all got to wait. Cuff's not eating.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, y'all wait till April, and then we can talk about it.
But as you get older, right, specifically with alcohol and drinking, like we've talked about this before, but there are zero benefits for drinking, right? Like, and I drink and I enjoy it and it's great, but there are no benefits per se. But every year I kind of take 90 days to rid myself of the toxicities that exist in alcohol or whatever. This year was going to be no different, right? That compartmentalizing was there. And I knew I was going to do that. And I also wanted to leverage this time. And let's be truthful, right? I didn't want this. I didn't want the divorce. You know what I mean? And it was very much up and down. There was a moment where it was like, from an emotional perspective, right? I mean, this is somebody that I've known for 20 years. She's been on the show. I helped her start her podcast, blah, blah, blah. We obviously have a child together. There was a lot of interconnectivity and wovenness that had taken place, obviously, when you're married. When you get beyond the disbelief and the hurt, the anger, the frustration, whatever.
Was it like 7 stages of grief or something like that?
And I couldn't even say that, those are all activated. I don't know it to that degree. But what I'm saying is, in that first quarter of the year, it was like, okay, I know I'm not going to drink, so now I got to deal with this on a sober mind, which is good, right? Because you want a clear vision of things. You want to rid yourself of those impurities so that you can think straight, process the information, and figure out how to move accordingly, right? But inside of that, it was like, hey, well, maybe we should work on this. So I'm like, great. And then you have that emotional swing of, okay, now we have a chance, because I never wanted either of my kids to
to experience that.
To experience it now. Now here's let's throw this into the mix. So this is my second divorce.
Mm.
You know, and that's real, right? So from a emotional perspective, you really look at yourself as, am I a failure? What am I doing wrong? Like, you look at yourself first. And I don't place blame on her. I don't place blame on you know, circumstances. I really put it on me. And I think a lot of that has to do with being the firstborn, being an older sibling. And then there is that component, right? The component of leadership, trying to you always talk about taking your family name to places where it's never been before. And I certainly have been doing that and was working on that, but this is a huge setback. And so now how do I show my brother, my sister, my children, my nieces, my nephews, like this, I'm paving the way, but yet I get knocked down again. So there was that emotional component that existed there. So then, you know, we have a conversation. It was like, well, hey, you know, let's look at this as and give us a year, so to speak. So emotionally, you have this swing, and you're like, okay, cool. You start planning.
It's DEFCON, and then all of a sudden, okay, crisis averted temporarily at least.
No, it's hope. It's hope that exists, right?
Okay.
It's like, okay, well, maybe let's put in the work, and I'm not afraid to work. Let's put in the work, and we can get this thing back on track. And then as quickly as it came, it left yet again. So now you're dealing with another swing, right? So then you're going back through the whole thing. And this is all like February timeframe. Meanwhile, we got the podcast and we got things that we got, you know, the symposium. Shout out to Black Wealth Renaissance.
Golf tournament.
Yeah, and then we got the golf. And I got work. And that's another thing. Like, I transitioned careers, right, and have really gone into like a more of a contractor role. So the money was different, right? I spent time in the lending space. The rates changed. People got, you know, scared, and then you see all these mortgage companies going under. So it was a very, like, for me,
it's
it
a
was
tornado.
The worst time.
It's a tornado. Let's just call it what it is. It's a tornado of shit.
Yeah.
I got one. Okay, my house is in disarray because, you know, I'm looking at a divorce. Like you said, you're in the lending business. The whole rate thing happened. People are running for the hills. Mm-hmm. I mean, we know people who own mortgage companies. The companies folded. They laid people off.
I was part of one.
Yeah, like there's just a lot going on. It's almost like the with Murphy's Law. Like anything that could go wrong was going wrong at that time.
So it's funny that you say that. So my oldest daughter, her birthday is November 18th.
Shout out to Naya.
Yeah, my ex-wife and I got in a big argument, and I wouldn't even say it was a big argument. It was a straw that broke the camel's back argument. Shortly thereafter, our wedding anniversary was December 5th. I was served divorce papers on December 6th, right?
Yeesh.
She moved out December 30th.
Not to be petty, did you buy an anniversary gift though?
No, I did
okay.
not.
All right. Well then, all right, cool. That's just a petty part of me.
Yeah, it's not even petty. It's just like it's not economically sound.
Yeah, given the circumstances. Yeah. Look, yeah. Okay.
So timeline, since you brought up the mortgage industry, right? So December 30th, she moves out. I transitioned to a new role because I kind of saw the writing on the wall as it relates to the mortgage industry. January 17th, MLK Day. January 18th, which was a Tuesday, I was in a meeting doing it, and I get a call from my job, and I got furloughed, right? So I'm not fired, but I can't go to work. Okay. And they say,
hey, professional limbo.
Yeah. They say, hey, in 60 days or whatever, we'll let you know, blah, blah, blah. So now I've got basically no income because everything that I'm doing is you got to create it. You know what I mean? Then roughly a week and a half, 2 weeks later, it was a conversation of, hey, let's give this thing a year. So now it's just like one thing after another from an emotional perspective. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then 2 weeks later, week and a half, 2 weeks later, it's like, no, we're going to move forward. So now I've got to, figure this out. How are my children? How's my daughter going to be dealing from a mental perspective of going back and forth between two different households, having a new house, and all this other stuff. And
you've seen what that does already. You're like, man, I don't want to take anybody else through this all over again.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of mixed emotions, right? So we get through the first quarter of the year. And what happens for me specifically, especially when you're not drinking, like you don't have that sugar in your body, so you lose the weight, blah, blah, blah. But I looked at this whole year as my year of reconstruction, right? It is what it is. We're going to have to rebuild. I have accepted that. So 2023 for me has been about reconstruction. What was very, very interesting in the second quarter of the year, I finally came to grips with you're letting yourself down. Right?
And what do you mean by that?
What I mean,
because I haven't heard you say this yet.
Yeah, because what I mean by that is I went back to drinking.
Oh, okay.
Went back to eating poorly, not making good decisions, right? And I don't know if it was an adult temper tantrum or self-sabotaging or what have you. But I recognize going into our tournament, like, is this the person that you want to be? And I can vividly remember and see, looking at that second quarter of the year, saying, this ain't going to work. This isn't what I want to be, right? And so the weight that you lost, the gains that you had made, mentally, spiritually, that was another thing, right? I wanted to get more close with Christ and have a better walk. I was very intentional about reading and things along that nature. But that second quarter of the year, I really was able to pan back out and look from a helicopter's view and say, is this the person, is this the man that you want to be? And it was, I don't remember the specific date. It was around our golf tournament. I don't know if we had it yet, but I knew there was this feeling of, okay, something has to change, right? And I didn't know what it was. So we do the golf tournament. It was a massive success.
Yes,
again,
thank
big
you
shout
again
out to all the sponsors for sure.
Boy, and get ready for next year.
Yeah.
Telling y'all now.
So we come out of that, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the year of reconstruction. You're getting closer with Christ. You got to do a lot of things differently. What is it? What is it? What is it? And boom. All of a sudden, Rosa Okung goes viral about how he goes on this water fast, only drinking water for 100 days, right? And 90 days, and he loses 100 pounds. And I'm like, boom, there it is. That's what I'm doing. And so I decided, because my birthday's in August, I said, okay, for 42 days, because I'm turning 42 on August 1st, I'm going to do a 42-day cleanse. Now, this is where really...
And when I remember you told me that, I was like, what?
This is what I want to talk about, right? There was so much that I gained from the fast, and we're going to literally go through it, right? But I decided right after the tournament, we would go the 42 days, but I was going to do a juice fast. I wasn't going to do, water exclusively, and I was going to commit, and there was zero possibility that I was going to fail. Like, it is going to happen. So I went all in. I went and bought a Nama juicer. And by the way, if you're interested in juicing, I highly, highly, highly recommend the Nama J2 juicer. Swear by it. They're not a sponsor of the show. So if I'm telling you that right now, coming from me, it is what it is. The cleanup, bro, so easy, less than 5 minutes. There's so many different benefits. If you're interested, shoot us a DM. I'll talk to you about it, whatever. But this is the plan. Now, why did I decide to do this? Because I needed to do something hard. I felt like this is the hardest, most challenging, most difficult, not only season, period in my life, right? So I needed something equal to that to push myself through that, if that makes sense, to push myself beyond that because I wanted
You
to
needed
know.
a rabbit.
Yeah, I needed a rabbit. I needed a rabbit for sure. And I thought, what better way than to challenge yourself with food? It is a big crux. I think oftentimes we're eating when we don't need to. I know we are, and we're eating terribly at that. And I'm listen, this is not a point of finger type situation because I would point it at myself first. But I felt like if everything else was kind of falling apart, I can control what I put in my mouth. And the fast was absolutely amazing.
Once you got through the initial part of it, because I remember the first couple of weeks, you were like, Mo, like there are so many places to eat. Like I see restaurants everywhere.
For sure.
And I'll give you credit because when you first said it, I was like, what? Like you're going to do what? Like, again, we saw the Russell Oku thing, and I was like, okay, we can't, water for 90 days. That sounds kind of outrageous.
And it had to be, though, for me.
Yeah.
It had to be.
But then when you said the juice thing, I was like, all right, he can knock that out. And obviously, shout out to James Aquila who kind of showed us the blueprint for it.
No, I mean, yeah, I always shout out to James, but it had nothing to do with him, bro, honestly. And just being truthful. It was me. It was my challenge. It was my experience. It was what I needed at that time. And as I look at 2023 as a year of reconstruction, obviously getting closer with God was like important. And a lot of people will talk about like they go through these go on these fasts and they experience like this spiritual connectivity. I'm going to be very, very honest. I didn't get that. I felt slighted. I felt like, oh, why am I not feeling this, right? But what I will tell you, which was absolutely amazing, I think there's different ways to connect. This is what I learned, right? There's different ways to connect with the Most High based off of where you are with your walk, right?
Yeah, because we're all on our own separate journeys.
For sure. And so for me, the energy was kinetic. It was super kinetic. Like I could feel things and my process, like the way you would think was totally different, right? So the first couple of days, and I've done fast before, and obviously I fasted from like alcohol or whatever, but like I did a 3-day cleanse fast or whatever. I've done a 7-day. I think I did like a 9-day or something like that. But this was going to be the most challenging thing that I had ever done. So what I did, it was the day after Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was the Monday after the tournament.
Yeah. So yep. So Father's Day, like that Sunday, I loaded up for bear. I went in. I literally ate as much as I could.
What do we say? Shack at the rim.
Yeah.
Shack at the rim.
It got to about 11:45, and I was like, okay, let me try to eat something else one more again, to try to just be like a bear, right? Like you're about to hibernate, even though you're awake. But I ate, and I couldn't do anymore. And I was like, okay, I'm done. And then we went into the fast, right? And so for me, like my first 3 days, 2.5, 3 days, just straight water. I like to start off that way, and then I went into the juicing. And, any juice that you could think of, I was making it all organic, no additives, preservatives, nothing fancy about it. Like if I wanted apple juice, it was just going to be apples, and that was it.
Straight fruit juice. And I will give you credit because when you started and when we still had recordings going on and you showed to a recording with a big ass mason jar full of juice from something, I was like, oh, okay, he's serious about this.
Yeah. So I'm doing this, and for me, it was never hard. And we talked about that. You're like, well, how hard? And I think, and I promise you, I can probably count, and I've got a journal at home or whatever, but maybe 5 or 6 times that I was legitimately hungry. But it wasn't about the exercise itself. It was about the mental graduation that I had to go through, right? It was about moving myself forward mentally. And this is what I want visionaries to understand. I don't care what the exercise is. You can plug and play whatever you want to, right? This was a fast for me based off of, what I have been going through and what I was going through. I felt it was appropriate for me in my season where I was in that walk, right? The fast was great, but it was where it was going to take my mind. And I learned the number one, the largest, the biggest lesson that I learned is that you can do anything that you put your mind to. Absolutely anything that you put your mind to. And coming out of the fast was like, I can do it. Like, I don't care what it is. If I choose to make $10 million a month, I can do it. If I choose to, whatever, I know that I have the capacity, the ability, the mental fortitude to make it happen. It doesn't mean it goes without work. It doesn't mean that it's going to come easy, right?
The game's not set up that way. But
you can do it. And that was massive for me, bro. So let's break that down for a second. Like, I'm a confident dude. But when you lose your family, you lose your wife, and my wife was nice. She was cold.
I think what you're saying is, no matter, you can stop me if I'm wrong, no matter how cocksure you are as a dude, no matter how much you believe in yourself, when you've got a wife and a child and you got a family, I told somebody this earlier today, I'm not unnerved by a lot of things. If you want to watch me come out of my normal mode of operation, you want to see me, I hate to use the word flustered, or you want to see me slightly unhinged.
Mess with my family.
Yeah, like mess with that. Yeah, mess with that, or like, a month ago, like the air conditioner went out in my house. And yes, I'm constantly on go or whatnot, but for the most part, I got it. I'm wrapped pretty tight. But the thought of my wife and my daughter being uncomfortable, that's unnerving.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it is.
It's unnerving. And
it has nothing to do with how she looked or anything like that, but it was more like, this is my tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a fervent believer that a man is designed to provide and protect, right? And that's what my aim in life was to do, is to provide and protect for my girls. And I failed. I didn't succeed at that, because we don't use that word fail. But I did not succeed in that venture at that time. And so that was the biggest pill that I had to swallow and had to accept, right? So coming out of that fast, knowing that I can do all things through Christ, because he does give me the strength to do everything, right? Knowing that if I put my mind to it, I can succeed. That was massive for me. And now I know vehemently. See, a lot of times people want to talk about things that they see other people do. And I've done that too, and I think everybody's done it, right? But I can vehemently say, I know what it takes to go through this. Now I can take that same principle, and I think a lot of times we don't realize that the challenges that you're going through in life, you're supposed to take the successes of those challenges that you made it through and apply it to the next thing, right? And so now I know I may not have created a $10 billion company yet, right? But I know that I have the mental fortitude to be able to do it. I know that I have the spirit if I choose to do it. So kind of coming out of all this, right, was massive for me. And I think it's not about the exercise. I mean, I think a lot of times we hear and we talk about the journey.
It's the thought. It's not the thought. Sorry, it's the mindset behind the exercise. When we're athletes, I guess,
and that's what it is.
You get into certain workouts. It's not about how many reps you can do. It's like where can you go mentally? That's what it's really about. Like, I'm not concerned about how much weight you can lift. Like, I just want to see how far are you willing to go mentally.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. And so coming out of that was the biggest lesson, is that you can do. You can do whatever you want. It's so cliche, but it's so true. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that experience. And I started to look at things differently. Started literally, bro. I would go for walks, like nature walks, and just no phone, no nothing, because I didn't want the distraction, but just really reconnect with the world. Not like from a social media perspective, but like reconnect with the earth, reconnect with being.
It's right? Reestablishing your roots.
With being present,
yep.
Right? And it's so funny because you're doing all of this while shit is still fucking going on.
In the midst of a hurricane.
In the midst of a fucking hurricane. But so what's interesting in a tornado, the quietest place is in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
The most peaceful place is in the middle. And I started to find that. Now, I know you've got some questions for me, but I wanted to give some context. So that kind of takes us up to August, right? It is what it is. Had the divorce, didn't want it. You question yourself as a man. You question yourself as a husband. You question yourself as a father. You question yourself, as a contributing member of society. You figure out, hey, I need to compartment. For me, I had to compartmentalize some things, right? And I'm going to tackle this one first, then this one. That's the way my brain works. We did that. I realized that in the second quarter, I failed. I could look at myself and say, here are the things that are causing me to fail, right? And causing me not to be the successful person that I am. So what can I do? Boom, go through the fast. So all this happened. So Visionaries, we're taking you up to roughly August. Now, I know you had some questions for me, so I want to get into that.
So being that you said like this is your second divorce, right? So in the midst of all this going on, what did it look like when, in the eye of the storm of everything that was going on, what was the time or the moment where things got quiet, you're asleep at night, obviously she had moved out at that point, where you just had a moment to yourself like, all right, Cuff, because, as you and I both like, we're not a fan of, we don't lie to ourselves. Mm-hmm. So what did it look like when you had that conversation with yourself? Like, all right, this is the second time this has happened in my life, right, wrong, indifferent, responsibilities, fault, blah, 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 whatever. But what did it look like when you were like, okay, Cuff, I'm gonna be real with you, the guy, the man in the mirror, so to speak. You're not good at this part, or you are falling short at this particular part of things.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
I'm gonna hijack and kind of change your question a little bit, because I never looked at it like you're not good at this. It was more so you're self-sabotaging and you don't see it, right? And so what I learned, what I know about myself, I knew about myself beforehand, but then going through the process, getting locked in, and then coming out and going, like, reverting back to, quote unquote, the ways of the world, or doing things sloppy, right? That second quarter of the year was massive for me. Now watch this. So it was the second quarter of the year. So it's one thing to be able to identify, here's your problem, right? It's a totally different thing to execute and solve that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've got clients right now. It's funny. You tell me these are your problems, here's your solution, but then you tell me, and I'm literally going through this right now, you tell me I don't want to do that. Well, you don't want to fix your problem then. Right?
Oh.
And that's the facts.
That's where the rub is. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, you and I have talked about it just from a business standpoint, right? Like, people tell you, like, okay, I want this. Like, okay, in order to do this, in order to get this is what has to be done. And then somebody says, well, I don't want to do that, or I'm not comfortable doing it. Well,
I want seriously, don't forget what you're just saying, because I want to come back to that, right?
Okay.
Because a lot of that is what I experienced, right? So, matter of fact, I'll tie that in with my answer. And your question was like, hey, when was my light bulb moment, essentially, right?
I don't even light bulb, because it's like,
well, when did you realize, like, hey, what you're doing isn't working, right?
That's a good way to that's a good way to encapsulate it.
So the first quarter of the year, I knocked it out the park, compartmentalized, good to go. Everybody doesn't have that mental strength, right? And I'm not suggesting that you should. I'm suggesting that you have that ability internally, right? If you want to activate that internal mechanism that's in you, because I believe it's in everybody, you can do it. But then the second quarter comes around and, truth be told, I fucked it off. All the gains fucked it off, right? Come into the back half of the second quarter. So we're talking June after the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I'm going to do. Boom. Yo, listen, we haven't talked about this yet, but I fasted for 42 days. I lost 53.4 pounds, 53.6 pounds.
Yep.
Right.
And I knew it was real because when we had got some stuff stacked up, I think I didn't see you for like 3 or 4 weeks, like in person. I was like, wait a minute. I said, you keep wasting away. Like, we're going to have to go get you a test or something.
So, and it's not about, I need people to understand this. This is no body shaming. I am a numbers person. I'm very numbers driven in our business dealings. You know, for me, I'm always talking about the numbers. The number for me, truthfully, was 60. I didn't meet it, and that's cool. It is what it is. But that's my benchmark. That's my measurable, right? That's my KPI. That's what I look at. I didn't, what?
Let's not use those terms from the digital world. I'm out of that world. Okay.
That's not just digital. That's life. KPI, key performance indicators. So I didn't hit the numbers in that, but I was happy with where I ended up. But to go back to your question, but don't forget what you were talking about, right? I came in August, a month ago, bro. I lost 50-something plus pounds in 42 days, and I tricked it off again. So now I've truly discovered. Now I didn't gain it all back. You know, I only gained like 30 pounds back, and some of that's water weight, blah blah blah. But from a numbers perspective, like, I get it. But for me, what I was looking at is my behaviors. What am I doing? Where am I? How am I putting myself in these type of positions or situations, etc.? It's not like I'm partying or kicking it like that. Like, I'm 42. Like, I'm not.
We ain't got time for that. We got stuff to do.
But I just came off this massive lesson that you can do everything you want, and then you literally default and fall or falter. Then fall. You falter and go back to doing the same habits again. So now I can understand better, right? Like how I want, if I want to be this, because this is what we're talking about. Like, if you want to be this, you can't do this, right? If you want to lose weight, you can't be eating McDonald's. You can't be drinking and staying up late and doing all those bad things. It requires discipline. So a long time ago, I believe that the 5 core pillars of success.
Write these down. Write these down.
Yeah, this is huge. All right, so in my opinion, the 5 core pillars of success, in no particular order: sacrifice, faith, execution, discipline.
And the other one, like consistency or something like that?
Perseverance.
That's what it is, yep.
Yeah. No particular order. I would put faith first. Faith, sacrifice, discipline, perseverance, because you're going to, go through challenges. You got to stay consistent, got to, persevere through it. And then execution, which is the most important thing, right?
I said at the beginning of the year, what did I say? What did I say? Action and execution. Mm-hmm. I said going from 2022 going to 2023.
You have a great plan. You can have great people around you. You can have all the support system in the world, so on and so forth. You can even activate the goal, the vision, the objectives, etc. It doesn't mean shit unless you execute. So that's the final piece, and not the most important, but the final piece. You got to execute. For me, as a man of faith, if you're locked in with him, you can't lose, right? Unless you screw it up. So now let's transition into your question, right? Or the point that you made.
So it's one of those things to where, again, like, and I've never been through that, but at what point do you look in the mirror and it's, okay, Cuff, it's your second divorce. Mm-hmm. Clearly there's, it's almost like, they say, point the thumb, not the finger, right? So you have to take an internal look at, like, okay, where am I flawed?
No, like I said, it was that second quarter of the year.
Let me drill down, to use your word. So was there a moment in the midst of the storm where you had a moment to yourself and just had a true conversation with the man in the mirror, was like, you know what? Like, I fall short in this area, and going forward, I need to work on this particular aspect of myself beyond the fast and beyond, okay, I gotta institute a reconstruction plan for my life. But was there a point in time where, again, when it's quiet and, obviously the house is empty, you're like, okay, Cuff, like, I fall short in this area, or I'm not particularly good at this particular aspect, just me as a person, right? Like, what's the aspect of your person? Okay, you know what? I recognize this particular trait about myself that is not necessarily serving me well when it comes to relationships. So, like, what did that look like? And you don't have to tell, you don't have to tell anybody like what that particular trait is.
I want to be 100 with people, right? It's what we're doing, right? It's this, right? And I would never suggest or say, like, I think that if you have a vision on how you want your life to go, you have every opportunity to make that happen. But if you're finding things that are taking away from that, and you continually do those things, you probably should check yourself. You know what I'm saying? And not do those things, right? But like, the thing was, it was two moments. It was, and I don't remember like specifically, other than seeing the Russell Kung thing, but it was that second quarter, realizing that you'd done the work and you were on path, and you fucked it off. And then going through the fast and losing almost 60 pounds in 42 days, and then fucking it off in August, right? So we understand now cognitively what the destructive behavior looks like. That destructive behavior starts to permeate in other areas of your life.
There it is.
Right? So I get it. And that was a huge lesson, right? Now, how do you do things accordingly, right? So
what's your adjustment?
It's consistency. And I talked about the five, my belief of the 5 core pillars, right? You got to be consistent at whatever it is that you're doing. And I've always, especially from a professional setting, I've always prided myself on being consistent. From our time together working at the company or whatever, I'm always up there.
Amen.
I was always
facts.
I was always, successful, and that was intentional. But here's the thing, Mo. When you make the decision, glory to God, when you make the decision to be successful, you will be, in whatever walk of life it is, and you will make the actions in accordance to that decision to make sure that you're rendered success, right? You're going to be consistent at those type of things. You're going to, whether it's read the Bible every day, read a book every day, get rid of the social media, the noise, etc., right? And you're going to focus on yourself. So we're kind of getting into something I'm going to talk about in the future shortly. I'm about to go on this social media cleanse, right?
You did say it the other day.
And I'm always about the next challenge or whatever. But if you put in the work, the results will yield, right?
It's one of those things where if you focus on the process and the necessary steps that are needed to get done whatever you're trying to accomplish, the end result or the outcome will take care of itself, because you've gone through the process necessary to get to that journey.
Stay consistent.
Yes, you I can
consistent.
attest to that on a personal level, right? From a business standpoint. Like there's certain things that like I do every single day. And with anything, right? Like you might not see the immediate success like directly in front of your face. Like if it's a Tuesday and I do this, I might not see the fruit. You know, if I do it on Tuesday morning, I might not see the fruit Tuesday afternoon, but that fruit ultimately will show up. And, so in God's timing, but it will show up if you remain consistent and dedicated to the process.
I'm so glad you said that. So on my bathroom mirror, I literally did this, bro. Obviously, this is a Vision Lab, right? And we've talked extensively over the last 5.5 years, almost 200 episodes, about writing things down, right? On my in my bathroom, on my mirror, I have seed, time, harvest. It's a biblical principle, right? The moment that you plant whatever seed in the ground, you're going to have to give it time, and then it will harvest, right? Now, that doesn't mean it's going to harvest good fruit, because you could have planted bad seed. And if you're getting a bad harvest, it's because you planted the bad seed. But it is tried and true. It's never going anywhere. It's consistent, right? So
everlasting.
It's everlasting. It's evergreen. And so now what I've been focusing on is planting good seed on fertile ground.
All right. So let me push the ball forward then. What does that look like for you now that you're on the other side of the storm, if you will? Because you have definitely changed since all this has gone down. And I mean, I know a little bit about it, right? But what does that look like now that you're self-aware in regards to these things that we've discussed up to this point? But now the concept of planting good seed on fertile ground, and what we're really talking about is, you used to call it all the time, like when we first got this thing up off the ground, RGA, revenue generating activities, but things are just progressive in manner. What does that look like for you now?
There's a prayer life that exists and needs to get strengthened. There is noise that needs to go away.
Social media
specifically. And for me, I don't get lost in what people are doing as much as it being an activity that's taking away from the opportunity for me to do other things that can yield good fruit. You know what I mean? Like Cuff is on social media and he's, got a private jet. Like I don't get lost in the sauce from that perspective, but I will scroll for a bit. And this is me being vulnerable, family. And that has to go, right? The challenge for me now is the discipline aspect, because I think that's such a key ingredient to success in whatever it is that you're looking to do, financially, spiritually, physically, emotionally, whatever, right? Like staying committed to the process. So what it looks like for me, and these are small things, but they add up, is you don't eat an elephant in one bite.
No, it's not possible. You'll hurt yourself.
It's taking all the pieces and breaking them up into bite-sized pieces. Things like not missing a workout. Things like getting in my Bible, getting in the Word, praying on a daily basis, meditating on a daily basis. Getting rid of things that are detractors and things that are vampires or leeches or things that are sucking your energies away. Things like putting myself in the right circles of people, right? I have been aggressively, let me not use that word. I have been assertively.
I'll give you a different word. Fervently.
No, assertive. I've been intentional with it. That's another word, like being intentional about my activities, right? I want my activities to be fruitful, positively, right? Making sure that I'm in the right circles of people. Shout out to you. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to Will Harris. We've been spending a lot of time together. You know, we met.
I like Will. Shout out to you, Will. We're going to do some big things. We see it coming.
We got some stuff in the works. Super excited about it. Mike Mowowski. Am I saying that right? Morowski. That's tough for me.
It's all good.
But people like that, right? Getting in those type of people's faces and having dialogue with them, right? A huge lesson that I learned that there's a lot, by the way, and I'll quickly go over 2. Dropping the ego, and that's a tough thing for me. From the perspective of I may not project it, but I embody it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel it internally, and that's cool to have that as a confidence layer, but it's not cool to walk as if you deserve it. And I think there's a portion of that there's a demon there that I need to battle with, right?
So let me stop you.
Yep.
All men have an ego, right? It's just a manner in which you manage it. From my reference point, right? And obviously I know you're different than, visionaries and people at the show. Yeah, you got an ego. But I view it as I view it as belief in yourself, which, if you don't believe in you, who the hell else is?
No, that's not wrong. I mean,
right.
And I'm not saying I'm not believing in myself.
No.
What I'm saying is
what I'm saying is in regards to your ego, like, yes, you do have one, but I don't. And again, I have a different, everyone has, Jerry Seinfeld talked about it in regards to comedians. Like, if you're in a room of 20 people and there's seats all over the venue, everyone has a different point of reference because people are sitting in different points of the rooms. They're going to receive it in different ways. I say all that to say, yes, you have an ego, but, and, obviously, like, I'm very secure in myself. I don't view it as to where, like, a stranger might be like, oh, this dude's got an ego. I view it as like, no, like, I am Ryan Cuffey, and I believe in me in the sense of, like, I'm not going for the BS, and I know how to conduct business, and while I'm not an asshole, I
expect things to go a certain way.
I expect things to be handled in a certain fashion.
Yeah.
Now, again, to the uninitiated and for those who just, haven't encountered you and I yet, right? They might perceive it a different way. Again, point of reference.
But watch this. I'm about to break this down even deeper.
Proceed.
So when you're in a relationship or a situation where you have this bravado, right, that we just talked about, I'm Ryan Cuffey, and I expect business to go a certain way, blah, 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 and having that ego, right? But then you hear it on the opposite end, on a 180-degree scale, like spectrum differently, right? There are questions that start to circulate in your mind, right? And those two conflict, and you're in an interpersonal conflict internally.
There it is.
And so you're fighting two different demons. Like, there's a balance that should exist where both of those can be appeased, both of those can be leveraged and used in the right way. But if you've got one that is more dominant than the other at the wrong time, internally you are literally fighting yourself. And I have experienced that for a very long period of time. So now kind of coming
the internal
out,
seesaw.
Listen, that's a great word. It's an
internal seesaw.
It is an internal seesaw. And I know, family, you're dealing with that too. I don't have an answer for you. I'm just literally telling you, speaking from the heart, like, this is completely unscripted, but like, that's what it was. It was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I don't know if I have an answer for you in terms of like balance of that, right? All I know is continue to put one step in front of the other, day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute, and work towards your goals. But that was some of the things that I had to work through and understand that your confidence shouldn't exclusively come from you internally, but also should come from him, for me. right? And in my faith. So yeah, those, I mean, like, to go back to your question in terms of like, what am I doing now? I'm hyper focused on activity, on my circle of people that I want in my life, on doing business in different ways. And I would, and this is truthful, I would say I'm 65 to 70% back, but I'm trending. I'm trending in the right direction. And
yeah, there was a time when I was like, Ryan Cuffey has re-entered the chat.
Yeah, yeah, and the next new best version or whatever, however you want to say it, of me that's coming out of this, motherfucker's gonna be lethal.
Mm-hmm.
He is. And it's on me. You know, Kevin Samuels, rest in peace, always talked about being a high value man. And that's something that I do see myself as. And I want to speak on this for a quick second. Like, you're only going to project who you really see yourself as. Bottom line.
Say that again.
You will only project who you truly see yourself as. If you see yourself as a bum, you're going to project that. If you see yourself as a high-value man, multimillionaire, blah, 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 if you want to, you know, put that designation on there, you're going to walk, talk, behave, act in that manner. If you want to project like, hey, I'm going to be the first to break through this financial barrier for my family, you're going to move that way. And it always comes back to the vision, bro. Like, that's what this fucking show is all about.
I'm smiling and laughing because I had a meeting today with a guy, and he wasn't BSing me, but we got to a point in the meeting, and he asked me something, and I was trying to, like, hold my peace. But you know me, I'm on go at all times.
No way.
Right. And I stopped him. I said, hey, look. I said, happy to continue this conversation. I said, but I'm too valuable in regards to what I bring to the table to take less, or, like, basically I was letting him know, like, I might have come in here disheveled because, you know, the air conditioner was out in my house, but please don't get it misunderstood. Like, I'm extremely valuable. And the buzzword now in the business world is like, well, how can I provide value? You work on a business deal with me, like, you will understand very quickly, like, why I am valuable and why I am imperative to a transaction. And it wasn't in an asshole way, but it was the first time I ever met this guy in person. I had to straight up tell him, I was like, I'm too valuable.
But you would have never said that a year and a half ago.
Probably not. I'd have tried to play it cool,
right? As
I was.
But now you have grown into this individual, right? And so wherever we are in our lives, we've grown into that individual, and that is what you're going to project. If that's the word is energy, right? Like, everybody likes to use that word, energy. If that's the energy that you want to emit, that's what you're going to get back. But why does Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, David Goggins, all these people command a respect and income, and Anthony Trucks and all this stuff? Because they put in the work, they put in the time. That gives them the confidence. It's not an arrogance. Very, very different, because they know what the fuck they're talking about. Mike Morosky, right? Why can he say the things that he can say?
Because he's been through it.
Because you've been through it. But the problem is, so many of us haven't gone through it. And that's why that fast was so important to me, because it was one of the first building blocks that I can start to build from and say, and this is what visionaries need to understand, is that, yes, maybe it's a big deal. Maybe it's a small deal. It doesn't matter. But you had that level of success. You can build from that, and then take that confidence and do the next thing, and then do the next thing. And then you look up, you've got all these seeds that you planted in fertile ground that have yielded good fruit that you can gain the confidence from. And now you can walk in a year and a half later and say, listen, I know how valuable I am, right? For me, I had a lot of success at a young age. Athletically, academically, etc. I faltered, experienced the first divorce, And there was PTSD, and this is something I wanted to talk about, Mo. There was a PTSD that men may or may not talk about. And, you know, I'm a man, I'm a guy's guy, right? I don't deal with that on the other side of things, right? Respect it. That's your thing. Do whatever. But for me, I'm a man's man, so we don't talk about feelings. But
let me stop it. It's not the fact.
We don't.
It's not that we don't talk about it. We're not going to be handcuffed by it because, like we talked about a long, long time ago, like ultimately, nobody cares.
Right. I mean, but
are you going to be a slave? Yeah, you're going to be a slave to how you feel in the moment because you can do that, but there's still things got to be done. So
that's it.
Honestly, like your feelings, they are what they are, but especially from a man's standpoint, nobody cares. Like it's just the truth of the matter. Nobody cares.
Whether people care or they don't care, it doesn't matter. I think for me, and especially as an early '80s baby, growing up in that era, like be the man. You know what I mean? Like
cry about it later on, man.
Cry about it later. Right. So, anyways, I've taken that mentality, and so yeah, divorce number one happens. Get knocked down, dust yourself off. Now you're rocking and rolling, and you really are financially, you know, not to say that that's the full measure of success, but
it helps. It helps.
There are some things that you're allowed to do differently, right? And we're there, we're rocking it, we're doing it, blah blah blah, you know. And then you get
gut punched
again. And now this time there's a greater loss. So now trying to come out of that and having the same level of confidence, for me, there was a moment. There was time that was like, fuck.
You're human.
Yeah.
Right? And like I said.
But you got to realize that, no, you're still that dude. Like, you're not going to walk up to Mike Tyson and challenge him to a fight, even though he lost to Riddick Bowe or Evander Holyfield. I don't give a fuck what you like, because you know.
It's part of the journey as a man. Even the greatest dudes in history, every one of them at some point took a loss in some form or fashion.
I needed this.
Like, I would imagine if you go back through, hell, people act like Michael Jordan's career started in 91 when he started winning championships. Michael Jordan got his ass beat by the Pistons 3 years in a row. People act like Michael Jordan never took a loss, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, Tom Brady has lost 3 Super Bowls. Like, inevitably, as a man, there are few and far between where you can say you never took a loss, whether it's financially, in your personal life.
I don't even think anybody can say they never took a loss. I don't think so.
Well, Floyd Mayweather would beg to differ, but that's another conversation.
He's lost in the amateurs.
You're right. Exactly. So
no one can say
nobody gets out unscathed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
what do you do
once that happens?
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
How do you react to it? Because as we both know, like, you can't stop life from happening. But what you can control is how do you react to it.
It's 100% how you respond.
Whether it's, you know, like I remember losing my grandmother and my dad. And I just thought, like, you know, it gets to a point where, you know, losing my grandmother and my dad, like that changed me. Like the birth of my daughter changed me. And it's one of those things, especially when you lose, you know,
I'm changed. But, but here's the thing. I would tell you, we had Sean Clayton that we interviewed.
Mm-hmm. Coming up in the next episode.
Yeah, y'all gotta check that out. It's fire. But in that conversation when we interviewed him, there's a part of me that truly believes that my soul, my being, because we all know that this is just
a vessel,
a shell, right? It's a vessel. My soul and my being had to have this. It had to go through this moment. I had to go through this because of what's on the other side. I don't know what that is because I don't have the ability to read the future. But I had to go through this. And so your father and grandmother passing away, those are pivotal moments in our life. Like this second divorce is a pivotal moment in my life.
It's an inflection point.
It's an inflection point. So what do I do? And it's all on you. It's all on you, Cuff. And I love that. I fucking love that. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about woe is me. I have a really, really good ability to look at a task and go after it, right? I have the ability to compartmentalize. And so I'm learning that. But, you know, I don't want this conversation to be positioned or have a posture of negativity. Because
I don't think it's been negative at all. I think it's been just very introspective.
Yeah, it has to be, right? Like we always talk about like self-inventory, and like this is coming from the host of the show, and like it's real. And I had to have that moment. We had Anthony Trucks on the show several years ago. One of my favorite episodes. Shout out to Anthony Trucks. But sitting in that room, looking in a dark room, like just looking at the wall, I resonate with that so much. For whatever reason, my soul, my spirit had to have whatever I'm going through. It had to happen for me to be whoever that future version of me is, right? So I've kind of come to acceptance of that, but now it's certainly time to work. And to
turn the page.
And to turn the page the page has been turned, but it's time to walk in the shoes of the person that I was designed to be and leave the foolishness. I don't want to say it that way. Leave the things that are weights behind you.
Drop the bags. You're dropping the bags.
Yeah.
Like people, my wife's therapist, she talks about it all the time, like people are carrying around excess and unnecessary baggage that they're not even aware of. And when she says all the time, like clients have their breakthrough when they drop the unnecessary baggage.
For sure. So what do you want to know? What else do you want to know? Because I know you were eager and excited to ask and talk.
It's on one hand, like you've been through it before, right? So you kind of understand the process of it all.
Totally different.
So, you know, my whole thing for 2022 was uncharted territory. When you look at the rest of 2023 and the rest of your life, right? Like it's some form of uncharted territory. So when you think of it from that standpoint, where do you foresee yourself going from a personal standpoint? Like professionally, like we're obviously working on stuff, but personally, the new and improved version, the ever evolving version of Ryan Cuffey, where do you see that going? Because it's uncharted territory. Like so this is a different one. Damn, it's been a good question. It made you pause.
No, I want to make sure. So that's part of it, right? Like my answers, I want to have thought to it. I don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction or response to things. The goal is high-value man, right?
In your opinion, what's a high-value man?
Bro, we don't have enough time. Honestly, but there's things that I need to let go in my life and suppress, or I should say, suppress to do that. Where is Cuff going? To the top. But I want to go back to the analogy of eating an elephant. There's no question in my mind, honestly, and this is like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. There's no question in my mind that I can get to where I want to go.
I would agree.
If I decide to. Because when I get locked in, it's dangerous, lethal.
In a good way.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
However, I think for me we'll just talk about what is this, September 5th. So the next 4 months, I've got to declutter the brain. and just get locked in on me. Continue to work on my spiritual relationship with God. I'm going to read a shit ton of books. That sounds so funny, cussing right after talking about God. I always like when people do that.
As soon as you said it, I was like, man, that was just a great word, and he just
Great
pooped
segue,
all over it.
No.
He ain't through with you yet.
Yeah, he ain't done with me yet. I'll get locked in with God, read books, read the word, continue to build positive relationships. Mo, let me pause for a quick second. I've got 2 beautiful daughters. I have to be the representation that I want them to
ultimately land with,
mm-hmm. to marry, to be a part. Like, I have to. So now the task, I love the carrot aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love the fact that this is what I have to do. So now that's the goal. That's the marker, if you will. And it all plays suit to who I have to be when my clock expires. But that's it. That's the mission. Work to be the man that you want your daughters to marry. Period.
I can dig it, Chief.
That's it. Thank you, Holy Spirit. That just came to me in that moment, right? I have to work to be the man that I want my daughters to marry. So I got some intermediate projects. I'm working on renovation right now. We're rebuilding financially. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? I got a puppy. I know you wanted to talk about that.
Right, and you'd always said like a while ago, like at some point I want to get a dog.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you got a little girl in the house, like,
Yeah, but
and then one day I just get a random text message and it's a picture of
random. It wasn't random.
Well, I get a text message from you and it's a picture of a Doberman. And I was like, what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
You're like,
puppy.
His name's Boston. I was like, and I was like, is this real? And you were like, yeah, I told you I was getting a Doberman.
Yeah, first of all, why would you ask me if it's real?
Hey man, you just never know.
You saw the picture in front of my house.
You're right. Is
this real?
Can we talk about Boston for a second,
Absolutely.
or Reggie, puppy, as we like to call him?
So let's get the story. All right. First of all, I love my puppy. Let me say this real quick.
Shout out to Boston.
I am not a lovey-dovey type person, right? Like, I love my daughters, my partner, whoever that is. Like, I'm gonna show mad love to them or whatever. But I've never just been like ooey gooey, lovey, roses, peaches, blah blah blah. Right? That's just not me, and it's never gonna be. And I'm okay with that. I've always wanted 2 Dobermans. Okay, and I'm gonna get another one next year. But I got Boston from a breeder in Dallas. Shout out to Ruben. His name is Ruben, by the way. And I fucks with Boston because Boston wasn't sweating me when I saw him out of the litter. He wasn't like, oh, come pick me up, come get me. He was super chill, and really, at my core, I'm very, very chill, very chill. I think I exude different personalities at times because I have to, because of what I'm trying to ascertain, but I'm extremely, extremely chill. So Boston wasn't really stunting me like that, and I like that. You know what I mean? And it was between him and the runt. But I also want a big dog because, you know, I want an athletic big dog. Anyways, so the whole Reggie thing, right? This is funny. So it's been I've had dogs for the most part, like my entire life, right? But I've had like
rats.
No, I'm girl dogs. You know what I mean? Like, so when we were younger, my family got a miniature schnauzer,
a rap,
Domino. Love Domino. Good ass fucking dog. Love that dog. Domino later on ended up having a partner, his homie named Biscuit, who we adopted. 2 miniature schnauzers, one black, one white. When in my first marriage, I got a boxer because I really wanted a boxer. but I didn't realize how hyper they were and how much attention they needed. You had a boxer.
Shout out to Bosley.
Man, we miss Bosley.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah.
He besides thunderstorms, Bosley was cool as a fan.
Yeah. So then I get so that I got divorced and I ended up leaving Cheyenne, which is a girl dog, a female dog, with my first ex-wife, and then she ended up having some issues and passed away or whatever. Shout out to Cheyenne. So then, I go years without a dog, and then my ex-wife had a Bichon Frise, which is a very, very girly dog. But
I
I
just call
always
them
knew,
all rats, whatever.
Yeah, but I always knew when that dog died, I was gonna get a Doberman. Like, we're gonna get a dog. You know what I mean? So the divorce happened. I'm on my own, back out here on my own, and this is a big moment for me. Not because I bought a dog, but I need people to understand, like, the mental breakdown of this, right? I decided to start to take my life back and do the things that I want to do. And that's a big moment. That literally is a seminal moment where I put my stake in the ground and say, okay, I'm establishing how I want the remaining part of my life to live, to be. And I'm prayerful that I've got another 42 plus years left, right? And this was a big moment for me. So I went out and got Boston. And I joke with you about it because we don't think about this oftentimes, right? You find a breeder or however you get your dog, but for me, I had a breeder. And you're looking at these 8 to 12 puppies, and you come out there and you select your dog. You get them. You get all the vaccination records and AKC records.
All the paperwork.
All the paperwork. And you say, okay, Mo, I want this one right here. And you take this dude away from his
tribe, his
nine
crew.
other brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? And then you put this dude in your lap. You put him in a car. First of all, you put him in a car. And you drive this dude 15, 20 miles or whatever. And then you come home. And then you land there. You get to your house. And you're like, hey, Mo,
Welcome
Boston,
home.
this is your house. And this dude, and I got a townhome. It's a 3-story townhome. So at the time he was 9 weeks. And I bring him up. He's on the stairs, and I set him down on the stairs, trying to teach him how to walk up the stairs. And you realize this dude don't even know how to walk up these damn stairs. So he comes up there, and
he's in uncharted territory.
1,000%, bro, like 1,000,000%. So the moment it hit me, and this is, you always talk about inflection points, and like when was that point or whatever? Like, dude put his paw, his right paw on the top of the steps, and looked, and it hit me. He was like, "What the fuck is this? And where the fuck am I?" Like, he's looking around like, I don't know. And my second level is really my like living area or whatever. And he comes out, he goes by my couches and everything, and he's looking out, and he's just trying to figure this shit out. Like, it is a true beautiful moment of a being, and let's transition to us as human beings, literally trying to figure things out. And I love that moment, bro. Like, he was just trying to figure out, what is this, right? So my thing is, immediately as a homeowner, I got to get this dude potty trained, because I'm not going to be cleaning up piss and shit in the house all the time. So and we work at it very diligently, and he's a good dog. And so we go out, and I got to run in my backyard, and it's probably 250 yards easy. And it's great because he's young, or he's a puppy, and I can get him stronger. He's got to work up a hill, and then he can run. He can
burn that energy
he can walk
off
on the run, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So we're taking him out there, and I'm like, Boston. And it just hit me. This dude don't know his name. He just got hijacked and kidnapped or dognapped from his homies, his brothers. And I'm calling this dude Boston. And I was talking on the phone with you, and I was like, Boston's probably thinking in his head, why is this dude calling me Boston, man? My name is Reggie.
Who is Boston?
Who is Boston?
And who are you talking to?
Yeah, my name is Reggie, homie. But no, it was dope, man. Like, that's my dude. Like, it's so crazy, bro. Like, I love this dude. And I've had him for 5-6 weeks at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I would never say I love him more than my daughters, but it is a very, very close, second.
So as we wrap the show, and I appreciate you being so transparent. Like I said, you called and you were like, hey, it's just been me and you. We're just going to turn the mics on and go. And I thought, oh, okay, this ought to be very interesting.
Yeah.
As we look forward to...
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
I want to say this. Adam, cut this up. Put this on the reel for us, okay? I wanted to be transparent. I hope that the honesty, the transparency is it landed with you. I'm going to put this out there. I'm not going to talk about my divorce, but I will talk about the emotional impact. I will talk about how to come out of it. I will talk about, what I did or what I believe should be done in those moments of real challenge. So if you have a problem in a relationship or professionally or whatever, it's a tough season for you right now. Shoot us a DM, okay? I will respond. Mo will respond, and I will specifically answer your question. I will even get on the phone with you and talk about, hey, this is what I personally went through. If you have additional questions or whatever, so that you can put it in your own walk. You can put it in your own life. So I'm very, very serious about this. I'm passionate about it. If it's something that you've got a question about, shoot us a DM at TheVisionLab Podcast on Instagram. Drop a comment, and I promise you I'll hit you up.
So as we wrap the show, we got a quarter of the year left.
Yeah.
Can we give the visionaries a peek of what it is we're working on to finish out the year?
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time, right?
And I mean a peek because we haven't completely cemented it yet, but can we give them a peek? Yeah.
So, and I think we should tag team it, but I'll want to continue to kind of answer some of your question as well, right? First of all, personally for me, the next quarter of the year, and it's a little over a quarter of the year, I'm just going to be heavy on me. And I thought about this on the ride over here. Especially if you're in my situation, right, where you had a household and now it's just you. If you're going through that or whatever, this is the time to truly focus on you. Like, I'm going to challenge people to take the next 120 days and focus on themselves. Get rid of the noise. Get rid of the clutter. Do the basics. Perfect the basics. And it's so cliche to talk about the process, but I think oftentimes the reason why people don't elevate is because they've never mastered the basics. So for me, on a personal level, I'm bringing it all. I used to do this in sales, right? If you had a slump, you got to go all the way back. And I was good. I'm top 15 people in a company. You know what I'm saying? So, and when I would hit a drought or a slump or whatever, I would take it back to the basics. So I'm going to apply that to my life, and I think that's part of your question. Like, what is kind of the future hold? And I talked about breaking it out into bite-sized pieces for an elephant. But the next 120 days, break it down to bite-sized pieces. Focus on yourself. Be consistent. Keep going. right? That's me over the next 120 days. Okay. Get rid of the clutter. As far as the show, man, I'm super excited, bro. We are working to have an event every quarter of the year, right? Mm-hmm. And so we are super excited to announce. And by the way, if you're hanging on, thank you so much. I wanted to be personable during the interview. So thank you for staying with us. Make sure you like, subscribe to our YouTube and all that good stuff. But we're partnering with Next Gen Financial, mm-hmm. and we're going to be having our first networking event. Which
that's a decent word to use. Like we're going to try to put on a little twist on it, but yeah, networking is a good umbrella word.
Well, that's what it is. It's a networking event.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But it's going to be a lot of flavor added to it or whatever, and it'll be in October 10th. 10th,
11th. I don't know if we've nailed the date down yet. Second week of October, folks.
Yeah, and you'll see media marketing out for it here shortly.
Cannonball run.
Yeah, but I'm excited about it because ultimately, we kind of talk about like a philanthropic arm to TVLP, but this not necessarily philanthropic, but we want to give back to the communities to allow the community itself and at large to grow. Right, and to connect with people.
I think what it is, the underlying part of the reason I'm excited about it, is it allows people to tap in and get connected like we are connected.
It's been man, listen.
Like people encounter us, and we did something a couple days ago, and it was just like, oh, okay, well,
business happens.
Yeah, this person's like, well, we need this. So we're like, oh, we got somebody to help you out. Like, so it's almost like we want y'all to be able to kind of have some semblance of the same level of access to stuff from a business standpoint, as far as, if you need somebody to help you with marketing, if you need somebody to help you with your taxes, if you need somebody to help you with credit repair, like whatever it is, like we've got it. And
we can connect you.
Or we can connect you with somebody that we know for a fact can help you get it knocked out.
No, it's been really cool because of the platform that we have, right? Meeting people, and then if the synergy exists, like we're doing business with people, like mm-hmm. hard dollars that are coming from this, which is dope. And ultimately, I would say kind of from a peripheral or tertiary perspective, like we want to create an environment where people can have access to that, right? So super excited. You'll see marketing out coming for the networking event in October.
Shout out to Vita and Eileen.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely dope.
Again, kudos to you for being so transparent, sir.
Yeah.
I think one, you did a great job, right? Again, I didn't know what to expect when, like I said, you're way more methodical than I am. And it's real life, right? Like I think one of the things about the show is like we've been on a journey since we started this. Like we've experienced ups and downs and wins, losses. Like it's real life. Like we're not characters on Instagram. Like, no, we are real people with real stuff going on. So kudos to you for really pulling back the curtain and being so transparent. We are definitely looking forward to finishing out this year. 2024 is going to be great. We'll talk to y'all about that later on this year. But kudos to you, sir.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions. We're good for the moment. Obviously, we'll talk about some other stuff as we kind of get further down the road on some things. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for. Why are you kicking me?
First of all, let me say what I need to say.
I'm sorry. You don't have to cut that out, Adam.
No. Yeah, I don't care. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
honestly. Business, here's what I want you to know. Life happens. Shit happens. It doesn't mean that your life is over with. You are valuable. Take the time to do the self-inventory. Understand that even in the midst of a situation that you were not responsible for, you're culpable for. You know what I mean? There's ways that we can grow. And that's what this show is about. Figuring out, after we look at ourselves, what can I have done? What could I have done better? And that's what 2023 has been for me. And I knew coming into it that it was going to be a year of reconstruction. And so what I want to challenge you, if you are experiencing this, and even if you're not, a great way for you to affirm or reaffirm where you are, put in the work. And that is so appropriate across multiple levels. Like, put in the work. I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to be vulnerable. Like I said, I don't know where you are in your walk. I don't know, and I'm prayerful that things are good. But if they ever get bad, and we don't want to ever paint the picture that things are negative or whatever. I think things, and I want to give a shout out to you, like, you can always draw a lesson from it, right? And that's what this has been about. I mean no ill will toward my ex. This is about me. This is about growing. This is about becoming the best version of me. Oftentimes we talk about becoming the best version of yourself, and a part of that is being vulnerable, and not, despite what social media says or depicts, we're not perfect, and that's what this is about. I wanted to show you a flawed person, and in an everyday walk, an everyday person, what that looks like. So I'm hopeful and grateful for the opportunity to be vulnerable. This is the first time that I've done this. This is the first time that I've really voiced this. So I'm not ashamed. I'm not regretful in any capacity, because I hope that it inspires you to walk in and become the best version of yourself. So this has been an amazing experience for me, liberating, and being able to walk in truth.
I can dig it, Chief. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Mosley. Thank you to Ryan Cuffey for being so open and transparent on this impromptu episode of the TheVisionLab podcast. And stay tuned for information on our networking event in October. And we'll see you guys next time. Another great episode of the TheVisionLab podcast.
Blessings.